Well. Hello, everybody. It's Bob Dickerson with In the Black. It's Wednesday, January 13th, 2021. We got 2020 out of here. Now we're working on 2021. There is a theme and a question that we're asking everybody tonight. And that question is, where is Melania? Where is the first lady, y'all? Where is the first lady? You gotta smile at some of this stuff because it's so serious, and but we can't just be consumed with all the seriousness of it. So I don't want anybody to think I'm taking anything that's happening in this country lightly. I'm not taking any of it lightly. I'm not taking anything lightly. But boy, where's Melania? We hadn't seen her, heard a peep from her in quite a long time. How's everybody doing? Hope your year is getting off to a great start. I hope you made some resolutions, and at least the first 2 weeks into the year that you've been able to keep them. You know, we make resolutions about how we're going to exercise, and what we're going to do with money, and what about our diet, and putting more money in church and doing all those kinds of things. So I know we all made them, and it's only been 13 days, but you got to start stuff the way you're going to finish it. And if you started off good, then you got an opportunity to finish good. But even if you didn't start off so good, you still got an opportunity to finish, period. In there, right? Hey, Damien, how you doing? Hey, I got to start off by giving a shout out and congratulating my team, Roll Tide, Alabama. So the Alabama-Ohio State game was pretty much what I think most of us Bama fans expected, but we didn't want to say it. We didn't want to say before the game that we felt like over the grind of a 60-minute football game that there probably wasn't a team that could hang with Alabama, especially once the defense improved somewhat. And it still was not the best defensive team that you've seen at Alabama. The defense is young, and offenses across the board, all over college football, are just so much better. You've got a lot of good quarterbacks, good receivers, and an active quarterback and protection. It's hard to guard somebody who only get a step away from you to be open, and a quarterback that can hit them in that step. And so, Ohio State, what's up, Benny, has a good quarterback. They have a good, but you just didn't figure them to be able to hang with Alabama for 60 minutes, and that's kind of what happened. So Roll Tide, when I was on last week, of course, Smitty had just won the Heisman. He showed out, only played a quarter, played a half and broke records. I mean, this boy is he's something else. Great football team. It is a remarkable accomplishment what the Alabama football program has done over Nick Saban. In like 15 years, 6 championships in a very competitive conference and a very competitive universe of college football. 6 championships in that period of time is really, really unheard of. Does anybody else have more? Clemson has 2. So Clemson in that same period of time has 2. LSU has 1. Ohio State did get 1. So anyway, I'm just reminiscing. So it was a great game on Monday. I know all of us were sleepy as we could be, because if you're like me, I watched the game and then I had to watch all the afterwards and all the stuff and all the pundits and everybody talk about the game. So anyway, got that done. Now I guess if you're a college football fan, Alabama fan, you start hoping that we have spring training. You don't really think about much basketball in the SEC. I don't know, especially Kentucky's taking it on the chin. I mean, I've never seen Kentucky be as bad as they are now. But Alabama beat them last night or night before last. So anyway, again, just a shout out to the Alabama Crimson Tide. They got players coming back next year. We didn't really get a chance to see Bryce Young play a lot, but we'll have to figure out, you know, if he is up for the task and if he's going to be able to do what Alabama quarterbacks have been doing for the last few years. Get this thing loaded up here. So anyway, let's get right to it. What a week. What a week. What a week. You know, last week when I came on, it was just really, it wasn't even quite the aftermath of the this disruption and the terrorist attack really on the Capitol. And I don't just mean the Capitol City, I mean the Capitol building, Sharon. So you know, it was really, you know, we were looking at it almost in real time. And so now we've had a week to look at it some more, process it, think about it, talk about it. Tamika, how you doing today? And it's still, actually it's worse. It's worse that now we've had a chance to have a week to look at Donald Trump and Mo Brooks and Rudy Giuliani and Don Jr. and some others treat this like it was a big game, you know, like it was reality TV, you know, and they fire the crowd up and go down there. Mo Brooks said, kick some ass and take names and do all that kind of stuff. And then it happened. I mean, these folks invaded the Capitol. Second of all, we've learned a lot more about the chatter that was happening leading up to those demonstrations. And that a lot of folks knew that this, I mean, they knew how many people were coming to DC. They knew there was going to be this kind of rowdy crowd of supremacists and Proud Boys and people, you know, that love their guns, as Trump called them, my Second Amendment people. Second Amendment is folks that got a lot of guns. We get that dog whistle and that kind of, you know, that language. We understand what that means. And so, you know, for us and for the Capitol Police and others not to have been better prepared, it makes you not really know what to think. Were they just naive? Okay, you can accept that as a reason. Were they? Did they kind of want something to happen to send a message because some of them, you know, agreed with Trump, or you know, they kind of have some affinity for these kinds of folks, law enforcement, military kind of folks? Was that it? You know, or was it a real inside job, Michael Blue? I mean, you just really don't know, because when Black Lives Matter said they're going to protest, they got folks out there with shields and pepper spray and rubber bullets and riot gear and helicopters and everything else you could imagine to some people that really are peacefully protesting, holding up signs, chanting, as opposed to folks that are breaking into. And they weren't breaking in to loot, but they did some looting, but to break into the Capitol of the United States. Just looking at that from this sort of long view, a week out, really, no, we really haven't witnessed anything like that before. It's the kind of stuff that we, you know, this would have been a movie. You know, it's this kind of stuff that Hollywood might have produced, and we would have watched it and been entertained by it, because the blood wouldn't have been real, the deaths wouldn't have been real, the damage wouldn't have been real, the threat wouldn't have been real. So we could have enjoyed this had it been a Hollywood movie. But it wasn't a Hollywood movie, was it? It was an assault on America. It was an assault on democracy, and it was a way that we took some steps back, you know, in our position. You know, it was more than real. And we have been reeling from it ever since. So, you know, I'm a news junkie, so I had to work a lot today. I had a lot of calls. I do have my crown. This is crown royal, just regular crown, not crown black, just crown. Yep. That crown is aged. It's been in that same thing for a long time. So I've I've tried to watch as much of the news as I could today, because the day was going to be, last week was going to be a special day because they were certifying the electoral college vote. Today, a special day because Donald Trump received the dubious distinction of being the first president ever to be impeached twice. And let's keep in mind, once impeached, always impeached. So he will never be able to be unimpeached. He's always going to have an I, in that by his name. Just listening to some of the newscasters and news people, he won't be celebrated. And I certainly hope he doesn't. He's not. But he is not likely. Hey, that's your drink, Aunt? Crown. That's good stuff. He's not likely to be celebrated like ex-presidents. And you know how every now and then, Bill Clinton and George Bush, even though they opposed each other, and then Barack Obama and Jimmy Carter, and even when Daddy Bush was living, they would all get together and do photo ops and do things that might be significant. You ain't gonna see that from Trump. Nobody's on him around. He's got that asterisk by his name as not only a president who was impeached twice, but a president who was about as un-American as we could ever imagine. And so the House impeaches him again. And here's the crazy part. And I don't know if you all were watching about 30 minutes ago. So about 30 minutes ago, Trump gets on does this video because he's been kicked off of Twitter and Facebook, so he can't do social media. So and the PGA isn't gonna play golf at his golf courses, and the city of New York canceled a lot of contracts with him, and Deutsche Bank is canceling all of his loans. Now, when a bank cancels your loans and you owe them money, they do something that is called, they call your loans, meaning they tell you, hey, we don't want you as a customer anymore. Bring us our money back. Pay us off. Now, I don't know if he's able to do that. We don't really know how much he owes Deutsche Bank because he doesn't disclose a lot about his financial picture. He still won and didn't do that. That's a shame on the people who elected him, but we don't know a lot about his finances. So he gets on today and he makes or reads a good speech, something he should have said months ago, probably November 5th or 6th, or even 2 or 3 years ago after Charlottesville, or sometimes during and after the murdering of Black folks and Black people were up in arms. He made a speech that made sense. Somebody wrote him a speech that made sense. And for the most part, he read it. Now, he didn't read it with a lot of conviction. And Judy, or now, let's don't leave this off the table. They could have had a body double. Could have had a body. And we still hadn't seen Melania. We got the Melania watch. We don't know where she is. I think she's in Florida. I think she got out of town. She don't want to be there. But he gives a speech that says we shouldn't be, being violent. And if you're an anarchist, then you're not my people. Now, keep in mind, this was the same guy that says we're gonna march down there and I'm going with you. Now, he was lying, but then we know he lies a lot. Hey, Sharon, we know he's a big liar. He says he's gonna march down there with you, and we can't be weak. And if and even yesterday, he called Mike Pence the P word he likes to grab. He told us that on the Access Hollywood thing, 5 years ago. But this guy gives the kind of remarks that began to make sense until a couple of things happen. One, you realize who's saying it. And two, then he does right toward the end, this kind of beg to get back on Twitter. Yeah, we shouldn't be eliminating people's freedom of speech. You know, I'm like, yeah, right, dude. Your freedom of speech costs people their lives. Your freedom of speech will cost other people their lives, livelihoods, property damage. You just don't know what. Your freedom of speech should be taken. It should be taken for a long time unless you can tweet from a federal prison or a New York State prison. But we'll get to that. Where is Melania, y'all? Where is Melania? So anyway, so today, you know, I was just thinking, just doing this blog, and you know, I kind of wrote civil unrest, the threat from within. And I just want to really point out where, you know, when I look at this and I see Americans versus America, and I see America versus Americans, and I've talked about, you know, how we've this divide among people in our country is just getting bigger and bigger. I mean, the chasm is growing. It's not, we're not pulling people together. We're not focusing on our common interest. You know, we're just getting spread apart. Our differences are becoming more personal. And this whole partisanship among elected officials started off, is kind of spilled over into, you know, into society. You know, we got this identity politics, and so we don't necessarily just disagree over policy and the direction and things that we want to see the government do, and things somebody else might not see it, or I see it this way and you see it a different way, which is fine. You know, I want this amendment to a law, but you don't want that amendment, and we debate about it, and afterwards we go have dinner. I mean, this is what we used to think Congress was, and I think that it was a time that Congress was like that. But now we've allowed our political differences and the fact that we want one party over another sort of, you know, threaten our very existence. I mean, it's made us look at somebody who disagrees with me as my enemy. Now, that doesn't really make any sense, because I love my brother, but we can argue about a lot of stuff. We don't have to agree, but, you know, don't mess with it, you know. So we have got to understand that we can have differences of opinion, but because somebody has a difference of opinion doesn't make them your enemy. And we've allowed that to happen. We've kind of grouped into what has been termed tribes. So this whole tribalism thing. But tribalism is the stuff that weakens societies. Tribalism is the stuff that lets real enemies come in and infiltrate you and subvert you. And the next thing you know, they own you. And we got to be careful about some of that stuff now, because some of the statements and actions and activities that folks that we have entrusted and put in leadership positions bothers me. And I wonder what team you're on. Are you on the American team, or are you on some other team? You're on some foreign team. You know, what team are you really on? You know, who are you really playing for? I want to see that jersey. And so, you know, we're creating, and we have already created this tribal sort of mindset that says, if you don't agree with me on this, I'm your enemy. And it doesn't matter about all the other stuff that we might agree on. And when you look at the Democrats and Republicans in Congress, that's what it looks like. Now, the Republicans have a problem. Trump was sort of the coup de grace, I think, of their problem. But, you know, the Republicans were the ones that the Tea Party took over. It seems that what has happened over the past 20 years, all the fringe lunatic folks have sort of navigated to the Republican Party more so than some, on the Democratic side. Tea Party being an example, stuff that Newt Gingrich was trying to do, years and years ago. The Rush Limbaughs who, really just rails against Democrats and for Republicans. So we got to be careful about, that tribalism, because there are some radicals out there, and we saw some of them when they broke into the Capitol. They're willing to wreak havoc. They're willing to cause destruction. They all have some guns. Obviously, they know how to make bombs. And they're actually even causing death. So this civil unrest, which is sort of a byproduct of this partisanship, is making, life dangerous. It's not helping us. And so I'm just really, concerned, because we had 5 people die. 5 people died in an invasion against America. Had this happened, I thought about this. Had this happened in one of our embassies in the Middle East or somewhere, we would be sending troops. We would be sending troops. We would be sending in not the National Guard, we'd be sending in the Army. But it's happening on our soil. It's happening in our house, the people's house. And it's happening to folks that we've elected to represent us. So I guess the thing is, and this is a question that we really have to ask and we got to grapple with, is can we fix this, and how do we do that? Can we fix the fact that there seems to be 2 Americas, one that wears blue uniforms and the other that wears red uniforms? Can we fix the fact that we even refer to ourselves as blue states and red states? I mentioned that before. There are plenty Democrats in Alabama, and there are plenty Republicans in California and New York. And so I'm a little offended when you say I'm in a red state. No, the majority of the folks have voted red, but that doesn't make me red. It doesn't make me agree with all of their policies, and it shouldn't have to. But we put ourselves in these. We've allowed ourselves to be labeled, and we are wearing those labels. And we, the people, have to stop wearing the labels. It's one way that we fix it. We have got to start electing folks that are uniters and not dividers. There are too many people, as I listen to the news, there are too many people in elected positions that are radical themselves, and all they do is pander to a fringe element because they know that's their base. And even Trump says it, and others of them say it. And when I hear him say it, it kind of strikes me the wrong way. So you're telling me that you're only going to govern for your base. You're telling me that you only really care about the folks that really voted for you. And if I'm an American citizen, but I didn't vote for you, or I don't support your positions, then I'm out. I'm ostracized. I'm out. Nothing I think, say, do, care about matters. That can't be. That can't be the way we do our business in America. That can't be the way that we run this country. And if we continue down that road, if we continue to do that, then we won't have a country. Hey, check out my website, check out my blog, follow me subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm trying to do better and be on Twitter. It's at B Dickerson Jr. So get me on that. talk to me. I'm doing a better job of looking at and responding to stuff on Messenger. So I thank all of you for your time and for your attention. Let me mention something else before I get out of here. Now, the A.G. Gaston Conference, of course, this year in 2021 will be a virtual event. So the fact that it is a virtual event, Gail, does a couple of things. The bad thing is that, I really enjoy doing it. It's a good networking event, a good time to do some networking, meet some people. I truly enjoy meeting the folks that come to and support the conference every year. But the good part about it being virtual is that anybody can log in. It's going to be free. It's going to be absolutely free. And it's my way of honoring A.G. Gaston, who really meant so much to me in my life and my career, and did so much for so many people in our community. No man is flawless. We all are human and prone to some frailties and errors and all that. So I'm not making anybody a god, but A.G. Gaston was truly an American hero, an American business hero. His mantra, find a need and fill it, is still something that all of us, whether we're in business or whether we want to serve community, ought to be, using and keeping that at the forefront of, our minds and our activities. So the conference is going to be on February 23rd and 24th, virtual. More information is available on the A.G. Gaston Conference.biz website, the A.G. Gaston Business Institute website. We are still looking for businesses to include in our directory. It's really important that we support our own businesses. I believe in supporting Black companies. I believe in supporting brown companies, and I believe in supporting small businesses. None of those is mutually exclusive, and we can do them all, and we ought to do them all, and we ought to encourage other people to do that. The Gaston Conference is a great opportunity to hear from thought leaders from around the country about closing the racial wealth gap, providing equitable solutions to the problems that we have in our cities and counties and states and our communities, encouraging minorities and brown people and women and anybody who may have been historically underserved and underutilized to be able to start, grow, and develop a business. And then we can find out, what's going on in our thank you, Mike, what's going on in our communities. We got Mark Moriel, who is the CEO of the National Urban League, is one of our speakers. Got a brother, Dietrich Asante Muhammad. Dietrich is with the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, talking about race, wealth, and community. Kind of how did we get here in terms of our lack of wealth based on our race? What has happened? We kind of know the story, but to really be able to talk about that and then to talk about solutions. Shelley Bell, who is a sister who started a business. She was just like most of us, started a business, struggled a bit, persevered, used her smarts and her ingenuity, her talent and her skill, and she made it, and now she's making it big. But what she's doing is she's giving back. She's got a venture, a program or a business called Black Girl Venture. And so she's actually helping Black women entrepreneurs understand the game of raising money for their enterprises. And then we've got, one of my good friends that I've curated a lot of friends over the years, got a couple of my high school friends on here, friends I've met in the business world, friends I've met on the golf course. But this woman, Maggie Anderson, has become a friend. Maggie is the lady who spent a year in Chicago and spent all of her money, every dime of her money was spent with Black companies. She made that pledge. It wasn't that easy. She got it done, but she has a commitment for growing Black enterprise, and we really respect and appreciate her. So I just wanted to mention that. Stay tuned. We got a couple of little contests for business people. you know, that has something to do with the Gaston conference. I'm not going to let the cat out the bag tonight, but I may let it out next week. Next week, I'm thinking I may be able to let the cat out the bag next week. I'm going to do my best to be able to convince the boss to let me let the cat out the bag. So anyway, listen, I enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate you being out there. Hey, we got to fix this country. It's up to all of us. We can't continue to go the way we're going. We're going to have a new president next week, and hopefully we can get some new people in Congress over the next 2 to 4 years. We've got to get the right kind of leadership that believes in working together, and leadership that believes in working to unite us as opposed to divide us and take advantage of our polarization so that we can speak to one piece of us as opposed to having to speak to our collective. Hey, see you again next week. This is Bob Dickerson within the Black.